So obviously we've had Brexit, Megxit, and now today we've got Curzit. And I'll tell you what, I am saying a little prayer of thanks for that, because for the last month, all I've heard is, well, Caroline, how good am I? I'm going to be CEO. I'm going to get a badge. I'm going to make everybody call me ma'am. That job title makes your relationships trophy look like a little athletics ribbon. So, smarty pants. Your colleagues and I thought that we'd make our own assessment on whether you're up to the task or not.
Oh no.
So what are the top 5 personality traits a CEO needs to be effective? So the first one, the ability to read people and think on your feet, strong communication skills, goes without saying, realistic optimism, a knack for building solid relationships, and the ability to learn from the past. So, let's take a look at some examples for the first one. So, the ability to read people and think on your feet. I wasn't here when Anne started at Forestry SA, but I have it on good authority that when people asked her, so what brought you to Australia? She responded with, and I quote, well, Pete was playing cricket in my village and I saw him and I thought, wow. But I ended up flying into Australia. I didn't plan on you being here, but she followed him to Australia and married him. Then another example was when we had some consultants here from Ernst & Young. So Anne was in the conference room with a room full of executive and some very serious consultants when she got a little bit off track and decided to demonstrate some of her newly learnt karate moves when she actually connected and punched the consultant. And then probably my favourite one was when she had to meet with a very important Crown solicitor. So we had an Adelaide office back then, and she went out the night before with her colleagues, got rolling drunk, and woke up with a raging hangover. Luckily for her, there was a boost juice on the corner of the offices, and she went in, and the guy took one look at her and said, wow, you don't look so good. I've got just the thing. So we made her a special hangover concoction, which she drank. She went to the meeting. Throughout the whole time, all she could do was, yes, because she thought, if I open my mouth, I will surely vomit. The funny thing is, that afternoon he rang the chief executive back then, which was Brian Farmer, and said, what a good asset Anne was to the company. So our takeaway from that, Anne, is that perhaps you should turn up to your new job hungover because it'll curb some of your enthusiasm.
Oh my God.
So we all know that Anne loves to tell a good tale. You know, I must admit, I've never met somebody who actually seeks out the opportunity to present, even when your job doesn't require it. So there was a time when she was into running and she went to all the worksite meetings, worksite comms meetings all over the state and made people sit through preparation for the London Marathon, complete with smart-ass goals. But Cookie will say that it always amused him about Anne that she'd get a bit nervous during her presenting. She'd put on a very thick, posh English accent, and then when it was all over, she'd talk normally. But the all-time favourite would have to be when, back in 2005, Anne was on maternity leave with Emmy, and they were living in London for the summer, and the London bombings happened. And Anne happened to be in the city at the time. Now, essentially, all that happened was the train stopped. Anne had to line up and use a phone box to call home because there was no mobile coverage, and she had to share an expensive taxi with strangers. However, Anne wasn't going to let that opportunity pass, and so that night, after a few cheeky her dad, she thought, oh no, I'll ring the border watch watch and give them a scoop. And that she did, and ended up on the front page. With her story. I like how she took the care to make sure she told them she was from the right side of Allendale. So next we have realistic optimism, and I must admit there was quite a few examples to this one. So the first one was Terry and Anne had a road trip to the Ranges region, and everybody was saying to Terry in the lead up, well, you better watch out for that Anne, she's a bit of a party animal. And he was like, right, well, this is going to be fun. Formal, which, you know, that's perfectly okay. But she also hired a bucking bronco. That was a logistical nightmare for the females. Then Anne was very it was funny though, to her surprise, after paying $300 to meet him, he was basically a very small old man on a lot of drugs. Or actually confused, because that day Anne decided to dress up for the occasion and she would go to the Maya Centre and get her makeup done. Turns out the makeup artist had some different is Flemish and speaks Dutch. So again, I guess with a drag queen in flip-flops coming flying towards him, shouting. One that we all know about, where Anne decided to, much to her teenage daughter Emmy's horror, talk up her netball prowess so that she could get a Guernsey on Emmy's social netball team. And we all know that that came to a very tragic end. So, a knack for building solid relationships. Well, but she was very humble in defeat. Advice. We know that you'll do very well, but you'll never find colleagues as good as us. We have Melissa's organised a present.
So I'm not sure how I'm going to follow that. I'll give it a go.
Come on, nobody's dying. You're not pregnant.
When I start crying, everyone just yell, "Get over it, you'll be fine." Almost time for me to become a member of the Dinosaur Club, but not quite. Through it all, I've worked with some really brilliant people. Mainly some really brilliant people. And for the most part, it's been fabulous. And it's the people and the lessons that I've learned I'm going to take with me to my next role. So I'm going to share with you. God, you'd think I was dying now. Is to to invest in a community. And I'd really like to thank the company, executive team, for showing me that. You know, we are lucky we work for a company that bought a forest, that bought a mill. They've invested big time in our community. But they've also done some really cool things like the just how important that is. From the big ones like that to the small ones like $200 to the netball club. Seeing for a living. So thank you, 141. You've inspired me to leave. I've also learned about the power of values-based leadership. Tell your stories over the past couple of years. And from doing that, I've had a really good practical insight into what values-based leadership is all about. And of course, Paul is fantastic, but it's not just Paul, it's everyone in the leadership team. Your people with what you believe. So thank you. Last but not least, I'd like to thank my peeps here at Plantations for showing me the power of teamwork and what that means. Come on, heckle me again. Yeah. I was a fully trained firefighter. When I joined back in the day, 2002-2003 fire season, I got trained up. One of the reasons I got trained up was because my first boss said, you know, everyone does something in fire. Girls don't really do firefighting. Fire crew, decked out in the ace outfit, going out in a, well, it was before Fire Kings, what were they? Yep, out in one of them, working your way through the forest, trying to find the fire, getting the hoses out and bringing them back in. That really gives you a sense of what good teamwork means. As it turns out, I didn't really like it, because I was So, although girls can be firefighters, this girl was like, no thanks, sister. So I had to go at radios. I thought I'd like that, because you get to talk a lot. I quite like talking. So I did that for a few fire seasons, sitting in an old building that is no longer. Alright. I think sadly the people that knew me from my bad map reading days were a bit worried, because if I'm the person bringing you food and I can't read a map, you're going to be hungry. Luckily though, for everyone who was on a fire roster the same time I was, I never ever had to go out. And I think they're all thankful because it meant they all got fed. So after my disastrous netball comeback, I could no longer not deliver food to people in a forest. So I started telling stories again and being But it's throughout fire, and every role we play, from the firefighters to logistics to office support, to the people that can't do it and still keep our business going, is a world-class team.